Hi, in this video I will be covering how to multiply polynomials such as binomials times trinomials and also a couple of other types of polynomials. Here for number 1 in Delta Math. So on Delta Math this assignment is 9, 4, 20 multiplying by times try and others. We are going to be starting off with problem 1. So I wrote this down on paper already. You are, again, like yesterday, going to have to submit a copy of your notes from watching this video as a grade and also a copy of your work. The notes will be due earlier than the other assignment. So make sure you are not prolonging getting the notes done. So here we have a binomial times a trinomial. It is a binomial because this has two terms. And this is a trinomial. The prefix is tri, which is 3. So bi is 2 terms times 3 terms. There are a couple of ways you can do this, so I'll show you both ways. I use both interchangeably. There's not one that I use more than the other. I'm going to show you first how to use distributive property and then how to use the box method. So with the distributive property, we are literally going to be distributing the first term of our binomial to all of the terms within the trinomial. So we're going to do x times x squared, then x times 3x, then x times negative 1. So x times x squared, recall that when you are multiplying like variables, you add their exponents. So remember that this x has an understood 1. So x times x squared, it means we are multiplying 3 x's together, which we write as x cubed. X times positive 3x is positive 3x squared. The sign is very important. X times negative 1 is negative x. Now I want to take my 5 and distribute it. So the second term in my binomial times all the terms in my trinomial. So 5 times x squared is 5x squared, but what I want you to see is that I'm going to go ahead and line it up under its like term. So if it's an x squared term, I'm going to find the other x squared term and put it underneath. 5 times 3x is 15x, and it's positive, so I'm going to put plus 15x. And then 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. So at this point, I am done distributing. I am going to draw a line and then combine any like terms I have vertically, bringing all my terms down. So I'm going to bring down my x cubed. This is positive. 3 plus 5 is 8x squared. Negative 1x plus 15x. So negative 1 plus 15 is the same thing as 15 minus 1. 15 minus 1 is positive 14x. And then I bring down my negative 5. I just don't have another term to combine it with. So at this point, I don't have any like terms, so I shouldn't be able to combine anything. So if I think this is my answer, I'm going to do like we did in yesterday's video, and I'm going to verify my answer. So I'm going to put my problem in y1 and my answer in y2. So my problem is here, and my answer is here. So I'm going to put my problem in by making sure I've cleared out anything in y equals. Again, you should be using your Calculate 84 app on your iPhone, or your Wabbit Emu app if you have an Android phone. You cannot just do this on a regular phone calculator. You need a graphing one. So we're going to put our problem here. So we have the quantity x plus 5, close parentheses, times the quantity x squared. So x, and then I'm going to hit this x squared key down right here, x squared, plus 3x. Notice my x is right here, but next to my green alpha button, minus 1, close parentheses. Then I'm going to move my arrow down and type in the answer that I got. So I have x to the third, and you might not be familiar with how to type in higher exponents, but it's just this simple. You are going to type in x and then hit, excuse me, underneath the clear button is the up arrow. So type in x to the third. But be careful, because if you then hit plus 8x, you notice you're still in the exponent, and we don't want that. So I'm going to back up and delete those. So after your exponent, you want to hit the right. See how it's got an arrow pointing to the right? That's right here. You want to type this button. So now I'm going back down and I'm typing in plus 8x squared, again using this x squared button here, plus 14x minus 5. And again, my job, I always go and look and make sure I typed it in, x cubed plus 8x squared plus 14x minus 5. All right, so now I'm going to hit second. Here's your instructions. Match on the table, second graph, just like we did yesterday. So second graph. And as you notice, all my y1s and my y2s match. So that tells me that they are equivalent, which means my answer is correct. So to make sure that you are following along and actually listening to the video, if you are listening to this video, beside your answer, put a heart. That way I know that you're actually listening to the video. So this is basically using our double distribute method, or our distributing method, I should say. Now I'm going to show you how to use the box. So when I use the box method, I prefer to put the longer polynomial on the top. So since this has 3 terms, I would put it up top. And then put the x plus 5 down the side. I do put the plus 5. And so if you see a minus sign, you should put the minus sign with that number. And I'm going to create 3 columns and 2 rows. And then I'm simply going to put the product of each here in my box. Switch and get a different color pen. All right. So x squared times x is x cubed. 3x times x is 3x squared. Again, because I'm adding those exponents there. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x. But negative 1 times x is just negative x. Okay? Oops. Negative x, not negative 1. Okay? We don't need the understood 1. Here, x squared times 5 is 5x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. Then 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. And now I should be able to see that I have like terms with my square terms and my x to the first terms. And then I'm going to write my answer. So I take this first term and bring it down, x cubed. When I combine 5x squared and 3x squared, that gives me 8x squared. 15 minus 1 is 14. And then bring down my constant, negative 5. And notice I got the same answer that I got up here. So you can use whichever method you prefer. It doesn't matter to me. So use whatever method you like. So let's go up here. And now we're going to type in the product. Again, I can choose to use that if I'd like. But notice I'm doing x to the third power, and there's not a third power, so I'll show you what to do. So if you're using the keyboard, you can type x, and then see where it says a to the b power? It's just not going to put an exponent in there, and then I can hit 3, then the right arrow, then plus 8x. I just don't prefer to do all this. Plus 8x. I like to use the keyboard. Plus 14x, but you're welcome to use this if you like. And then, of course, if you're using your phone for some reason to type this in, it's probably helpful to do that. All right, so we already verified this in our calculator, so we should feel good about it. But notice also that you have 4 attempts. Did I not type something in right? X cubed. Oh, I forgot my squared. See, and that's where it can be helpful. That's my fault. So right here, I forgot my square term. So I'm going to go in here and just hit the a squared button to square that. But see how it says attempt 2 out of 5? So if I make a mistake, that allows me to go back and correct it, whether it's a math error or I typed it in wrong. I'm trying to give you 5 chances to do it. If you're having to get to 5 consistently and still missing it, you should be reaching out to us for help. Okay? All right, and here they're showing you the box method also. So we're good to go, and then we can move on. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to number 5 just to do a second example with you. And on number 5, I've already written it on paper. You should be just hitting the space bar if you want to pause the video, by the way, so that you can catch up with me talking. But do notice again, we still have the watch help video. We still have the show example options here. So Make sure you're using that as you're practicing if you're making mistakes and needing help, okay? So I've got it written down on paper. I don't really have a preference, like I said. I'll just do the double distribute method this time. So that gives me 6x to the third. So if you'd like to pause the video at this time and work it out, and then resume the video to check your answer, then please do that. 2x times negative 2x is negative 4x squared. 2x times 6 is 12x. Then I'm going to take my negative 5 and distribute it. Negative 5 times 3x squared is negative 15x squared. I'm going to put it under here because I have another x squared term. Negative 5 times negative 2x is positive 10x. And then negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. Then I'm going to draw my line and add any like terms. So I bring this straight down. Negative 4 minus 15. Please don't guess at this. If you do this, if you're not good with integers, then you are able to just type it in your calculator, because if you get this number wrong, then when you put it in y1 and y2, it's going to be wrong. So it's negative 19. So negative 19x squared plus 22x, subtract 30. So notice I'm modeling for you repeatedly that you should check every single time. Oops, I want to make it exponent. And then my answer, again, to type it in, 6x to the third power. Then I hit the right arrow to bring it back down from the exponent. And hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. Let's see. Oh, I feel good about it because all my values in y1 and y2 match. So then you'll just go in and type your answer into Delta Math, okay? Please remember to put a box around your answer in your work. We are going to need to see work, either this method or this method for each problem. If you want to try a couple different methods, you know, like maybe do this one this way and do another problem using the box just to see which one you get comfortable with, that's cool, but you do not have to do both methods. So if you are still listening to me, put a star beside number 5. If you're still listening, put a star beside number 5. That means that when I check my notes, if I see a star beside 5, I'm going to know you did what I asked you to do and listened to the video. All right. So then I have a selection of problems in Delta Math that are not binomials times trinomials. So binomial times trinomial goes down to number 8. Then starting at number 9, there are problems where you simply distribute and then combine like terms. I wanted to do specifically number 10 with you because there's a common mistake students make. So I did this on paper, so hit pause, write this down on paper. And so I've got the problem written down here. So when you simplify anything in math, that PEMDAS thing you learned way back when, PEMDAS, and I think about 6th grade, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division in order from left to right, and addition or subtraction in order from left to right, still applies, even to polynomials. So when I'm looking at this and I see 9b minus 8, first thing that should pop in my mind is that's subtraction. And then here I have subtraction on the inside, but these aren't like terms. Also, I can't subtract these anyway because these are not like terms. But I do have multiplication of this number times this quantity. Now, yesterday we practiced, if I take away the 9b, we practiced this stuff yesterday, so that all you do is distribute, and it was to help you with these types of problems. The big thing I want you to pay attention to is when you are distributing, you are not distributing just an 8. That minus 8 means that 8 is negative. So you need to multiply the inside by the negative 8 when you distribute. So the first thing I would do is you can't just throw away the 9b, so just bring it down. So we have 9b. Now when I distribute, negative 8 times 10b is negative 80b. And then negative 8 times negative 9 is positive 72. So you see how I'm reviewing your multiplication rules of signs? A negative times a positive is always negative, but a negative times a negative is positive, okay? When we get to this step, we should notice, again from yesterday's lesson, that any like terms need to be combined. Now, if you are not strong again with adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers, if on your calculator you can just hit clear and then just do 9 minus 80 and you get negative 71. So negative 71v plus 72. Now, I showed you before how you can check it on your calculator. Can you check it even though the variable is not x? Yes. You just go in y1 and pretend it was x. And then in y2, I would type in negative 71x plus 72. It doesn't matter if the variable is x or not. But in your y1, it only understands the variable x. So I'm going to type in my problem. 9x minus 8 times the quantity 10x minus 9. And then I'm going to type in my answer. Oops. Okay. So we type it in. And then check to make sure you typed it in right first. And then go to second graph. Keeping in mind that if you accidentally hit a negative instead of a minus, there's going to be an issue. So that 71 is negative. If you were to read it out loud, you wouldn't say minus 71x. You would say negative 71x. So that's when you hit the negative key down here. Any other time it's a minus, make sure you're using this button or it will understand it differently. So again, my y1s and y2s match up. So yay, my answer is correct. Put a box around it. And if you got this right, then put a diamond underneath your answer. Underneath. Just come in here and draw a diamond shape, okay? All right, number 14. You could enter it in just like that, by the way, in Desmos. For number 14, if we see this type of problem, then you notice I have unlike terms on the inside. There's nothing to simplify. I cannot just do negative 8 minus 3. So you know how when we did the exercise yesterday we dragged like terms together? We cannot do that because order of operations says that multiplication, meaning a number times with parentheses, that's multiplication, comes before subtraction. So we cannot combine these. We have to first distribute, and then we can combine any like terms. Keeping in mind that this is a negative 8 that I'm distributing and a negative 3 that I'm distributing. So keep your signs correct. Negative 8 times 7, use your calculator if you need to, but negative 8 times 7 is going to be 56y in this case because there's a y. So 56y. Then negative 8 times negative 8. A negative times a negative is positive. 8 times 8 is 64. Then negative 3 times 7y is negative 21y. And negative 3 times negative 7, because again, that minus sign belongs to the 7. Negative times a negative is positive, and then 3 times 7 is 21. Now we want to identify any like terms. So remember from yesterday's exercise, we would or 2 days ago rather, we would pick this up and drag it over here, and then these could be combined together, right? So 56 minus 21, use your calculator if you need to. 56 minus 21 is 35. So we would have 35y. And then lastly, 64 plus 21, just a model for you. 64 plus 21 is going to give us 85. There's nothing left to do. But notice it doesn't have x in it, but that doesn't mean I can't change it. So I'm going to, in my calculator, just replace whatever variable I have with x. This is going to be super helpful, by the way, when you get to Math 3 as well and you're doing all kinds of things where you need to verify your work. And throughout this course, because we'll get to all types of things soon where we're going to continue to use this method. minus 3, even though you think, oh, that's a negative 3. When you read it out loud, that's minus 3 times 7x minus 7. So make sure you use a minus 3 there. The only time you need a negative is when it starts off that way. So let's see if I got it right or if I made a mistake. Oh, I made a mistake. So the first thing I do when I see that is I always go back and say, did I type it in right? Let me see. And then I go and look at my answer, make sure it's typed in right. So let's see. This was negative 50. Oh, look what happened. When I wrote it down, I bet I said negative 56, but I forgot to write the negative. That's really important. So this is a way of me modeling exactly what I would do if I were in your circumstance and I made a mistake. So I forgot my negative 56. It has to be combined with negative 21. So negative 56 minus 21 is negative 77. So if I go back and change this to negative 77y, will that be correct? So let's see. So in my calculator, I'm going to go back and type in negative 77x plus 85 and verify that answer. And now it matches, okay? So sometimes I make mistakes, sometimes you make mistakes, and that's exactly how we go about it. Don't be frustrated. Just go back and look and see if you can catch your error. So as soon as I did that, I went, oh, I forgot to write down my negative 56. It's a common mistake. But I know that this is right before I type it into Delta Math because I verified it. So make sure you have your phones out or whatever or calculator and use it to verify your work, okay? All right, and then just go to Delta Math and type that in. Just join us for Zoom or send us messages if you need help, but remember you can also click on Watch Help Video and show examples in Delta Math for additional support. Good luck.